as I'm sure a lot of you know, if you do work for companies and so forth, that just because you did great in revenue doesn't always mean that that you're also doing great in profit. You could be selling and just giving the store away, selling stuff at almost cost, okay, to really get up your numbers in revenue, but your numbers in profit will definitely reflect what you did there. So what we've set up here is a little worksheet that shows all of the companies that we deal with. We got about 25 different companies in here. And what we want to be able to do is look at their revenues, look at their profit, look at what they've returned to us, okay? And figure out where they rank between 1 and 25. So whoever did the most in revenue, they will have the number 1 next to them. Whoever did the worst in profit, they'll have the number 25 next to them, all right? It's that type of thing, all right? Now, we're going to flip that because of the returns. That means what people have returned to us, right, these companies. Well, I would consider, as I think most people, that whoever had the lowest amount of returns would be, in fact, number 1 in our books, right? Whoever gave the most back in returns, that would definitely be the low point in our list, right? So who's number 1 when it comes to returns? The person that returned the least. Now, if you think it's the other way around, then you can do the function that way. Now, the function that we're going to be using in all 3 of these cases is the rank EQ function, okay? So the rank EQ function. So here's how we're going to work this. We're going to go to C2. I'm going to start out with equal. Type in RA, and you'll see rank EQ. Rank EQ and rank are the same thing. This will soon be gone, okay? And one day you'll wake up and there will be no longer the rank function. So this one is taking its place, all right? So we're going to do a double click on that. So the first thing it wants to know in here is what is the number that you're going to be comparing to all the others. Well, when it comes to Antonio, it'll be Antonio's year-to-date number, right? Now I can't click onto his number because or his cell because the function is kind of freeloading over there. So I'm just going to type in this case, B2, right? And then I'll put a comma in there. Now the next thing is, what are we comparing that to? Well, all of the revenues, right? Now, because I can't start from the top, I'll just go to the bottom here and start from here and work my way up. So, no different there. Doesn't matter how you reference it. You'll notice how it still came out B2 through B26. All right, so far so good. Now, here's the thing. Imagine when you go to copy the formula down, all right? The reference to B2, which is for their first company, when we copy it down to here, we'll change to B3. We want that. But the comparative range, the range of B2 through B26, we don't need that to change to B3, B27, B4, B28 type of thing as we're copying it down. So right after you get done selecting that range, you need to make that range absolute. Do you know how to do that? Remember how we did that? That's with the F4 key. So you hit that F4 key, and it makes that whole thing absolute. All right? Now we'll hit the comma again. This time, it wants to know, is this ascending or descending? In other words, because the biggest number is going to be number 1, that means as we descend, then the next one is number 2, number 3, and number 4, right? So in this case, it's going to be descending. So we double click that, all right, and we get a 0. Or you can type in a 0, either one. So there it is. Enter that in, number 23, okay, out of 25. Now we're going to copy that down. There we go. Pretty easy. So as we can see here, Ricardo, number 1, Mason Dewey, number 25. Now, just because Ricardo is number 1 in revenue might necessarily mean that he or she is number 1 in profit, right? So we'll see what that is. So we're going to do the same function, same formula, but now for this range, right? So we'll go to here, we'll do an equal, RA, there's our rank EQ. We'll just type in D2 because we can't click onto it, comma, all right? So we're comparing that number, all right, to, and then we'll go to the bottom here and select up to there. We just get D2 through D26, comma, and we can just type in 0, right? Did I forget something? Ooh, I almost did. See, look at that, huh? I was too busy talking. I needed to make this absolute. Now, in order to do it now, I need to get and select that right there. See what I did? I just selected the range. I then hit the F4 key. Boom, takes care of it. Enter it in. There we go. And we'll go ahead and copy that down. So now the new number 1 is Wardian. So Wardian is number 1 in profit, okay? And Mason Dewey is also, again, last in place. So they're not doing too well. See, this whole thing is an alternative to you sorting by any one of these 3 columns, see? Because in this situation, which one would be the one that you'd sort by? I want to show them, I want to present them all equally. So it's a lot easier to just leave them in their alphabetical order and be able to just kind of look across, oh, they're number 2, oh, they're number 8, they're number 16, all right? I can see that, just like that. Now, last one is going to be the returns. Now, this time, the lowest number is number 1, all right? So how do we do that? Equal RA, there's our rank EQ, all right? We click onto, well, we can't click onto it, so we're going to hit what? Hit F2, right? So F2, right? Comma, again, the range. We'll select that range, all right? And right when you get done selecting the range, what do? F4, good. There's F4, now we'll do a comma. And now this time, instead of being a 0, it's going to be a 1, because as we ascend, when we start out, number 1, as we ascend, number 2, number 3, number 4, right? So we hit number 1, enter that in, copy it down, there we go. Perfect. And that's it. So that's a very straightforward way of looking at at all the companies that you deal with and the revenue that you get from them, the profit that you get from them, and unfortunately the returns that you get from them. But other than that, it works out pretty well. Now, the next thing is we're going to get into doing another, I guess, a cousin to all this. I want you to click on, or I want you, if you're following along, go ahead and do it. Click onto the percent rank tab. All right, so whole different set of data here. We have weekly numbers. We got 10 teams. These are their numbers, totals, all that kind of thing. I already have in there, because we've already done it on the previous example, the ranking. So we've already got their ranking. We can see that teammates number 1 and team 10 is number 10. So those are like the extremes there, and then everything in between. What I want to do in this situation is be able to figure a somewhat, not exactly, but a somewhat percentile type ranking. I want to be able to, if you ever like go to a teacher conference or something, and the teacher says, oh, your son or daughter is in the 80 percentile. Well, what the heck does that mean? Well, that means that your son or daughter is over, doing better than 80% of the class, approximately. But though 20% of the class is doing better than they are, right? If your teacher, or if the teacher says your son or daughter is in the 20 percentile, that's not good, all right? We need some work. But what that means is that at least your son or daughter is doing 20% better than the rest of the class, but 80% is doing better than they are. That's pretty much how the percentile works. Now, we have something called a percent rank that comes close to this, right? And it's set up much easier. When you try to do a percentile, there's a lot of extra stuff that you got to throw in here, all right? We don't want to do that. So we'll suffice with something very similar to it, okay? So we have two different percent rank functions. We have the EXC and we have the INC. You see, I got the names already over there. So we're going to do both, and then you can look at it and say to yourself, I think this one makes more sense than this one, because they are pretty, I don't want to say pretty extreme, but they're different in their outcomes, right? So you'll see it, and you can make up your mind, all right? So the first one we'll do is going to be the percent rank EXC, all right? So we'll click over here. We'll hit equal. We'll type in PER, right? And you'll see in there the percent rank EXC. So we double click that. All right. Now, this is a flip of what we did with the rank function, okay? Where it wants to know the data that it's comparing to, and then what it's comparing, all right? So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to select from here to here. So all 10 teams' numbers, right? Right when you get done selecting it, F4, right? And then a comma, and then we click on to C5. So that'll be for this first team here, right? We go ahead and enter that in. You get 18%. And let's just copy it over, then we'll take a look at this. So drag it across, to team 10 here, let go, and that's it. Now, what is that saying? Well, when you look at it, team 1, the one that did the most, right? Team 1, what that's basically saying, in essence, is that approximately 91% of the teams are doing worse than they are. To me, that makes perfect sense. And on the other hand, Team 10, who came in 10th place, I guess can say that they're filling like the 10% area. So 90%, all right, the inverse of that is doing better than they are. So to me, in my non-expert opinion, I like this one better than what I'm about to show you next now, okay? Now that I've kind of biased the whole situation here, right? So we'll click on to now the next one here. We're going to do the percent rank INC. So we'll type in equal PER. There's your percent rank INC. We'll double click that. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to take that little help bubble there and kind of just drag it down a little bit, get it out of the way there. Okay, so the first thing, we select the range, right? F4, comma, and then we click on to the number for that first team, right? Enter that in, copy it across. So this one we're kind of saying that nobody is doing worse than they are. All right? And everybody is doing worse, nobody's doing worse than they are, and everybody, and they're doing 100% better than anybody. They're at the very top, they're at the very bottom. All right, so you can almost think of your percentage being, okay, that one there. Now, if you look at second place, that's about 90%. Say you look at third place, all right, that's about almost 80%. So again, it's like I said before in the beginning, these are not exactly right on target. But you have to kind of deal with this versus having to go through a very elongated process of doing the actual percentile. I think this is a good alternative. So again, you make up your mind. You know how I feel. All right. So hopefully these functions can maybe be used somewhere in some of your worksheets, especially the rank. I mean, the rank one, that's a very popular one, you know. Good alternative to sorting, because you can just look at a nice sorted list and just look across, oh yeah, number 1, oh, number 5, number 10, that type of thing, okay? So hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I appreciate you watching.